25 is up next. Eagles, Chris.
Oh, baby, the Philadelphia Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. Okay. You know what? I'm going to go with a guy whose name's not even been mentioned yet. And the Eagles are in a kind of a spot where I thought about, again, you could think Josh Jacobs, all right?
Okay.
You certainly could do that. I thought about maybe corner. Could they go corner? I don't think so. I mean, they do have,
a wealth of average corners.
They do. They have Ronald Darby, who I think is a pretty good player. And they did draft the kid Sidney Jones in the second round a few years ago, who I would expect this is the year you see the real Sidney Jones, year 2 after an Achilles tear. So, I mean, all those things have gone through my mind. But they have a tackle problem, I think. I mean, Jason Peters has been hurt. He's been, in the last 2 seasons, been in and out of the lineup. For me, the next guy up, Greg Little from Ole Miss would be my next tackle up. And Greg Little, just so you guys know, for my money, I thought was the 3rd best tackle in this draft, just so we're clear there. I thought it was Cody Ford, Dillard, then I would have gone with Greg Little. And again, maybe I see it differently, but 6'5", 310, 35 and a quarter inch arms. I mean, that is prototype left tackle stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe not as athletic as Dillard or Juwan Taylor, but not much less than. But again, what I put stock in is the ability to handle the power rush. And he got to see it a lot in the SEC with NFL defensive ends and people who could rush the passer. And I thought his ability to either punch people and stop them in their tracks with those long arms and then anchor down and hold his ground against the power rush, I thought was very special. So to me, I think this is Greg Little, whether they want to put him at left tackle, or maybe he sits the bench for a little. Maybe he has to play guard for the year. Who knows what it might be. He might have to take Brandon Brooks' spot early, but we're coming to the end of the Jason Peters career.
It's got to happen sometime.
And they can make him the left tackle, or they make him the right tackle, and they can move, what the hell is the right tackle?
Big V. Well, they have Lane Johnson.
Lane Johnson.
Yeah.
They can maybe move him to left tackle either way, but I think it's time to think about that decision and protect Carson Wentz.
Colts, 26, Josh.
I am so happy, and so is Chris Ballard, that Jerry Tillery, interior defensive lineman, out of
Notre Dame. And you have him ranked 10th overall.
I do. I mean, again, anyone that can, with athleticism, show bend and flexibility from that interior defensive line spots. I mean, so often he was asked to occupy other blockers to free up others, and then ultimately he was the one that made the play, just because of how fluid and flexible he is from either 3 technique or 5, wherever you want to use him. And just speaking about Chris Ballard, he's done a fantastic job early in his career with the Colts. I mean, last year we know he acquired those 3 second-round picks, moving back in that Sam Darnold trade, and was able to draft Quentin Nelson, was able to draft Braden Smith, was able to draft Darius Leonard. I mean, those are 3 massive hits in his first 3 selections. And you had Jerry Tillery to a GM, a decision maker, who really cares about athleticism and a position of need. This is a perfect player-to-team fit, in my opinion.
I know you like Tillery
I do.
a lot as well.
I'm a big Tillery fan. I mean, he's disruptive as hell. I think he's only going to get better. He's only going to become a bigger, thicker guy as far as handling double teams and things like that. And I think the thing about, like, bad film and good film is a little overrated. His bad film, okay, I'll make this point for any defense in college football who, like, they do a lot of slants and stunts and things like that. Notre Dame does that. I think a lot of his bad plays, it's like, hey, we'd like you to shoot over 2 gaps when the quarterback says set hut. Okay, shoot over 2 gaps. He does what he's supposed to do. But he's got a 300-pound man on his back. And do the evaluators expect him to stop in the hole? Like, I'm going to run over there with a guy pushing me, and I'm just going to stop and be like, this is my hole, stop. No, that's not realistic. Sometimes you got to take into account what he's being asked to do, and is it realistic to hold that gap down? When he played straight forward, I thought he was very good, and I'm a big fan of the player.
Nice of you to bring Big Phil in there a little bit.
Yeah, that was Big Phil's voice.
Oh, missed him.
We were talking about Tillery in the makeup room before the show started. He was a guy who was misused until last year. But before they were trying to use him as like in a similar way to like Ed Oliver, they were trying to use him as a block occupier, like a nose tackle or whatever. Last year, Brian Kelly finally moves him to 3 technique, and he just shot off.
Right.
I mean, this is a guy who was born to create interior pressure. Get after the quarterback. And his counting stats last year weren't the best, but PFF rated him as a pass rusher equal to Quinnen Williams, tied for first in the entire nation. He led the nation in pass rushing wins in reps that were not counted as pressures. So he was doing a lot of things that were not showing up on the stat sheet.
Right.
Very disruptive. And he played through a torn labrum for the last 8 weeks.
Yeah. Before Thor goes again for the Raiders, add number 27, a reminder for measurements to testing scores to player comparisons and everything else in between. Go to rotoworld.com/prospect capsules for Thor Nystrom's in-depth breakdowns at every position. So now,
Thanks,
for the
Paul.
Raiders, yes, sir. To recap, at number 4, Chris gave them Quinnen Williams, and then just moments ago, looking down here to number 24, Hakeem Butler, wide receiver, Iowa State, now at 27, their third pick in the first.
Yeah, so my last pick, we're sort of shooting the moon on upside here, right? We have 3 first-round picks. Where I don't know that they're trying to win next year, so we're going to take a guy that might need a red shirt. We're going Jeffrey Simmons.
Okay.
Yeah, the interior defensive lineman from Mississippi State. I think this is a guy, when we look back in a decade, could be one of the elite players from this class. He is coming off an injury. Obviously, he tore his ACL. Might be able to get back in time to contribute just a bit this year.
Yeah.
He does have the off-field issue, of course. So there are things on his evaluation that are going to push him down the board. But man, he is strong as an ox. He gets after the quarterback. Great run defender. He can do a lot.
So after you selected Quinnen Williams, actually that was Chris that did that at pick number 4.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, P.J. Ford, Mo Hurst, they don't prevent you from taking a Quinnen Williams.
Right.
Now you have 4 interior defensive linemen that are really good, and you have no edge rushers other than Arden Key. And so for me, even if L.J. Collier might not be considered a first-round type player,
You might do that
L.J.
here.
Collier much more fits a need.
But I don't think we're looking at it for this year, right?
think-
We're building out.
I think their game plan and what they've done this offseason does point to them wanting to win now.
Yeah, listen, I think both thoughts are correct. I'm not going to sit here and go either one is wrong.
You have to pick one,
Well,
Chris.
no, I don't. The hell with you. But no, I mean, I totally hear you. I hear what you're saying, Josh.
Yeah.
I mean, that's certainly, you go, oh, okay. I mean, do we want to wait on a guy and not sure if he's 100%, and we're going to have to hear the public perception of, like, you drafted a guy with a torn ACL. This is what we traded Khalil Mack away for, all this kind of crap. So they might have to deal with that. But I think also to Thor's point, Jeffrey Simmons, I think as healthy, is probably a way higher up on people's draft boards, a healthy Jeffrey Simmons, where they might be like, damn, we didn't think he'd be here at this point.
Just based off his tape, if you remove the ACL from this winter, just based off his tape, how high would he go?
Well, I think without the ACL and without the off-field issue, I think he's a top 10 talent.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I would disagree.
I don't think it's that high. I'm going to say top 20, okay? I don't know if top 10 would be for me, but again, he is super talented nonetheless. I don't think there's any denying that.
All right, Chargers 28, Chris.
Oh, baby. Okay, here we go. Okay. You know who I'm going with?
I don't.
And this has been an issue for the
That's the exercise.
This has been the issue, I think, the last few years to the Los Angeles Chargers is lack of size in the interior defensive line.
Say his name.
And I think this is where big Christian Wilkins is coming off the board here. I think this has been one of my complaints about the Los Angeles Chargers the last few years. They're not real big at the linebacker position. And then they haven't had real great size in the interior defensive line. Did you watch the AFC divisional game against the New England Patriots?
Yeah,
You know what they couldn't stop in that game? The run. I mean, every play was a hole that you and me could have ran through for 5 or 6 yards. So when I look at it from that aspect, Christian Wilkins, which I can't believe he's on the board here still, but I think it's a possibility with the different scenarios. And this is, I think, one of the weirdest drafts and that I can remember here in modern history. But super talented. 315-pound guy who moves around like he's 285 pounds. I'll say this. Overall, extremely impressed with his athleticism. I was not as impressed with his ability to handle double teams as I thought I would be for a 315-pound guy. I think he does fit a 4-3 Seattle-type scheme. Gus Bradley's the D coordinator. He was in Seattle. That's what they do. And I think if you just said, win this gap, he'll win this gap for you all day long.
All right, 29, we stay in the same division. Josh, it's your pick with the Chiefs.
Yeah, Chris and I talked about this on a podcast a few, weeks ago now. Like, the Chiefs have invested so much on offense that maybe their view of playing defense is just to score more points than you and have 1 or 2 players create a big play in the fourth quarter to allow you to win.
Right.
I'm really, really, really tempted, especially with all the stuff going around Tyreek Hill right now, to go Marquise Brown, the wide receiver out of Oklahoma. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to add to that defensive group because it's that much of a need and go with Notre Dame, corner, Julian Love.
Okay.
Because I think he's someone who can play on the outside or the inside, depending on where a coaching staff feels he's best. And that cornerback group is horrific here for the Chiefs. I mean, they have Charvarius Ward, Rashad Brilliant, they brought in as a free agent, Tremont Smith. I mean, these are tall, long corners. but they don't have NFL starting caliber play on their tape already.
Right.
And Julian Love, like we're seeing here, is someone that can close quickly. He can attack the catch point. And again, I think he can play in a variety of different coverages and succeed.
Yeah, I'm a Julian Love fan too. For me, he was the third best corner in the draft.
Boom.
But reminds me, and Paul, you've heard me say this, he reminds me of my ex-teammate Rondé Barber. Not only good athletically, smart, willing tackler, understands what offenses are trying to do. And to what Josh said, he could be an awesome nickel cover guy. And you can trust him outside on an island too. I'm a fan of Julian Love.
The only issue here is they don't have an edge rusher, you know, and Steve Spagnuolo is coming in as their defense coordinator, I believe. And every stop he's had a major rotation.
Yeah.
But they're at the board here because they're a good football team at 29, where there probably isn't an edge rusher that they feel comfortable taking.
All right, bringing us to 30, the Green Bay Packers. And Thor, I think you had the pick for the Packers as well at 12, and you went offensive line with Jawan Taylor. So what are you doing at 30?
Oh, man, we're struggling here. I talked about before how...
That's exactly what a fan base wants to hear.
Well, I mean, we took care of the guard dash tackle issue before, but we need front seven. Well, I don't know who you would take here.
Well, can I suggest a name here?
Sack Daddy?
No. I'm not going edge rusher because they just paid a whole bunch of people.
Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith.
Yeah, so why not a wide receiver? Why not take advantage of this moment that you have with Aaron Rodgers and play someone that can play in the slot and outside?
Please,
A.J. Brown.
Can we give him? Can we make Aaron Rodgers give him some help?
I'm down with A.J. Brown. Yeah, I mean, if Fant had been here, Fant would have been the pick, but Fant's off the board, and you get another guy that can play in the slot. And A.J. Brown was an absolute slot killer at Ole Miss from the jump. Right, for 3 years, he left Ole Miss as the all-time leading receiver in school history. He can do a lot. Jumbo slot. He was more athletic than we thought. Coming out, and he's a Leonard Fournette-sized runner when he's got the ball in his hands.
And the other part of A.J. Brown is, he is viewed as a slot receiver because that's where he mostly played with DeMarcus Lodge and DK Metcalf on the outside. When Metcalf went down, he played about 100-something snaps on the outside as well and looked very good. If you eliminate landing spot here for this wide receiver class because it is all kind of jumbled up, I would choose A.J. Brown as the player who I think will be the most productive his first year, and especially with Aaron Rodgers, it makes a lot of sense.
He's ready to go. I like Paris Campbell better, but I like A.J. Brown a whole lot
sometimes,
too. So. I do like him a lot.
Chris, we're keeping you in Los Angeles at 28 with the Chargers. You win Christian Wilkins, now 31 Rams.
Oh, so, okay, this is good. I mean, first of all, Drew Lock hasn't been drafted. Okay, I'm not saying I'm drafting him here. I'm not that crazy, but I just go, this is crazy that we got to this. Yeah, I'm just pointing it out. It's unbelievable. Drew Lock's not gone. I don't think that's even possible because I know there's teams that have Drew Lock as the number 1 quarterback and the number 2 quarterback. So I just think that scenario is not going to happen. But either way, this is the way we saw it, and it's played out that way nonetheless. 2 positions here for the Rams that just come to my mind right off the bat. Interior offensive lineman, they need that.
For sure.
Or maybe a safety. Right, lost to LaMarcus Joyner. So this is where I think of, this is Jonathan Abram territory from Mississippi State? I'm going to say no, and I think they're going to go center Garrett Bradbury from North Carolina State here.
Love it.
To me, that would be the way I would go here. I think the weakness overall of the Rams roster this past season was the center guard position who weren't named Roger Saffold. He was really good.
And now he's gone.
He's gone. So there's an issue there. And Bradbury can play guard or center either way, but I was very impressed with Bradbury. I mean, Billy Price last year from Ohio State, you brought him up earlier. He was the 21st pick from the Cincinnati Bengals.
Bradbury's better.
And I think Bradbury's at least every bit as good. Yeah. I really do. And I'm impressed with Bradbury, the athlete. And you get to see it against Dexter Lawrence and Christian Wilkins and a bunch of other players he played that are top-notch football players, to where I feel safe that this guy is a legit big-time center, Mitch Morse-like from the Kansas City Chiefs, whatever it is. I really like him.
And what a great scenario. If you need an interior, offensive lineman or a safety, basically everyone has fallen to you. I mean, Lindstrom was still on the board, too. They could have had their pick of safeties.
Right.
They're sitting pretty with those needs back at the first round.
Final pick of the first round, the Patriots. And I've got your list of top 50 players here, Josh. I've been crossing them all out.
Thank you for doing that.
So give me a hint where you're going to go, and I'm going to based off of who's left, I'm going to see if I can guess it.
I mean, the Patriots, if you think about it, they actually have a lot of needs.
For the first time in a while, they really do. You go quarterback, wide receiver.
Yeah.
That's still an issue.
I'm not going to go either. I'll go interior defensive line.
Interior D-line. All right. I'm looking up and down. I don't see a lot highly rated. Are you thinking Big Ten? You thinking Big Ten?
Yes, I am.
Ohio State?
Yes.
Draymond Jones.
Draymond Jones.
Okay.
Draymond Jones, he might not have tested as athletic as you would hope for someone that moves as fluidly and as athletically as he does. I mean, he kind of moves like a basketball player at times with how he gets skinny and is fluid and can just slip off blocks.
Very crafty.
Very crafty. And yes, you're right. His film is way faster than his
Way
times
faster.
at the 40 and everything else.
And we know that they lost Trey Flowers, who more than anything was an interior disruptor. And I know that they signed traded for Michael Bennett, who is an outside to inside player. But I look at this, and it's kind of a value selection because they need tight end after Gronk's retirement. They certainly tried to go after slot wide receivers and Adam Humphries and a few others and didn't nail those. So there's a lot of openings here, maybe safety to replace the aging McCourties. But Draymond Jones just makes a lot of sense from someone that can make a difference on that interior of the defensive line.
Interesting pick still on the board after first round. The top running back, Josh Jacobs, is still there in our version of the mock. Marquise Brown from Oklahoma, still on the board as well. Those are the two names that really stood out, in addition to Drew Lock.
Chris Lidstrom.
I mean,
N'Keal Harry.
Okay, Chris, can I pose this scenario to you? What if we're at 32?
And I think New England would be a Drew Lock lover. I don't know that, but I think he's their cup of tea, but we'll see.
Let me ask you this. We're sitting at 32 here.
Right.
And we know that teams in the past have traded up to that final slot to get a quarterback.
Yes.
We saw it with Lamar Jackson. We saw it with Teddy Bridgewater.
Right.
Who could you see trade up to 32 to select a quarterback?
Ooh, that is a great question. I mean, I guess the teams that...
Could it be the Bengals? Could it be the Redskins that we haven't touched in this year's draft so far?
Redskins, Bengals, or Dolphins, to me, would be the teams that at first come to my mind to go, they might fancy a way to get up here.
What about the ones that are on like the periphery? You know, ones that we always talk about, okay, they need their quarterback of the future, and the Chargers, we've heard that with the Saints before, the Packers now because Aaron Rodgers is 35 years old.
Yeah, right. I mean, again, you know, I know people would draw the parallels to go, well, they drafted Aaron Rodgers when Brett Favre was 35, but let's not forget, Brett Favre was dangling retirement out there like 3 years before that, so that's why they did it. I don't think the Packers are going to do that yet. The Chargers would be one of those teams that I would say watch out for. And if the Giants, for somehow didn't take a quarterback at 6 or 17, I think this would be prime time for them to go, oh, okay, let's trade away our second-round pick, get back up there and add something else and get whoever it is. But I think those are the teams. I don't know. Am I missing anybody else out there to you guys? I think that's it.
Those are the main ones.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's it. Only 32 picks in the first round.
Yep. He got off easy. He only had to pick 10. We got to pick 11.
He had to pick for the Jets and Giants in the first round.
Yes.
Thor Nystrom, our first time hanging out with you. Very well done.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Invited back anytime. Josh Norris, Chris Simms. We'll see you guys around the building.
See you.
Absolutely.
Real soon. Let's take a look at the recap of the first round here. All 32 picks, 1 through 8. A lot of defense there in the top 8, as you would expect.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that one makes a lot of sense. You're going to see a lot of defense, as we talked about. Defense early and often with interior and edge rushers.
Can somebody in the back room count up how many offensive guys actually were drafted here and then in our mock? Because I would think it's probably almost 22 to 10 or somewhere in that range, 20 to 12. Which very easily could happen. I mean, I think we could see runs of this with these defensive guys.
And it's funny because, you know, we all do mock drafts, right? But as we got to our later picks, we still saw a lot of talent still on the board. Yeah. And this at least opened up an exercise that, you know, the 32 teams that are done in a different way here that we haven't seen before.
I'm hearing 14 offensive players.
14 offensive players and 13 either interior defensive linemen or edge players.
Wow. There we go.
Transcendent class at those two positions.
Yeah.
All right. For all the latest news and rumors leading up to the NFL draft and for analysis on every pick during the draft, you can check out rotoworld.com/NFL news. Don't forget about Chris Simms Unbuttoned.
Thank you for that, man.
Yes,
See, my buddy old pal here.
Looking out for you there.
You're drinking the Kool-Aid, as they say.
Drinking the cold coffee.
The cold coffee.
That was a long draft. A long draft. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you on Unbuttoned.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.